Okay, welcome to the lessons on eating and calorie intake. Before we get into the details with the specifics on calories, let's just talk about some of the bigger stones. Imagine if you had to fill up a big, a big glass full of stones and rocks and sand. They always say put the big stones in first and let the little stones and the little details fall around that. So let's knock out some of the most important things first because I think one of the challenges people have is they overwhelm themselves and stress themselves out about eating. Should I eat carbs? Should I eat this much protein? Should I eat this much fat? Should I eat this vegetable? Should I eat this fruit? And they start forgetting about just the big stones because it's kind of like, as they say, 80% of success is just showing up. So the first thing is just show up and do some simple things first and start knocking out those habits. And as that becomes part of your reality and it becomes a regular basis, then you can start fine tuning and getting into nuances and details of everything. So that's why I want to start with this 5 habits cheat sheet. Now, when I took this precision nutrition certification, it was one of the most powerful things I learned because I realized that as a nutrition coach, as a fitness coach, I didn't have to talk to my clients about every single detail about every single food. It was more about establishing the foundations of the right behaviors. So the book was, I think 400 or 500 pages. There was so many details, but he even informed us in the book to start with these 5 habits, these rules, because these rules govern everything else that goes on. So let's get into it here. So basically, the 5 habits start with number 1. I'll go with that number 1 here. Scroll down here a little bit. So the first one here is you want to eat small, healthy meals every 2 to 4 hours. And the way that you remind yourself that question is you ask yourself, when did I eat last? If you haven't eaten in 2 or 4 hours, you're probably increasing too much space between the time that you're eating. You need to keep those meals within a certain time frame because your body and your metabolism is going to work on a rhythm of digestion. You eat something, your body breaks it down. You eat something, your body breaks it down. Now, there's a lot of people who really get fanatical about things like this, and I've met guys in the gym who, argue whether this is correct, and then there's a lot of people who are clouding the space talking about intermittent fasting and all these things like that. Yes, there are deviations from these strategies, but at the end of the day, if you're just trying to get your fundamental basics of health correct, this is just the basic way to start. And like I said, this is the number one big stone, the big priority. Is just first of all, regulate your eating. If you've regulated your eating for 6 months to a year, then you can play around with it and decide if you want to do something different with like intermittent fasting or some of these other more radical approaches to eating. Okay, so the next thing we want to look at here is habit number 2. So make sure that you're having protein with every meal. For women, 1 serving is about 20 to 30 grams. Men, it's 2 servings. So this is another controversial topic as well because a lot of people believe that, there's debates about whether you should be eating meat protein or animal protein or vegetable protein or all of these things. And I just try to keep a middle ground about this because I've tried vegetarian, I've tried vegan, I've tried alkalarian, pescatarian. Never really got much into paleo, but there's always something. And there's an institution called the Institution Integrative Nutrition, and they cover every single dietary plan known to woman and man, and they examine the benefits, the pros and cons of each of them. There really is no one way to eat the right amount of protein. You can try to look for organic or grass-fed sources of animal protein, or you can try to get most of your protein from, beans and peas and dried things like that and grains. But at the end of the day, my goal here, the objective is see if you can get that amount of protein. So if you can put together recipes on a vegetarian basis that doesn't require meat, but you still meet your required intakes for protein, that's perfectly fine. If you feel like you want to be more convenient and eat meat, that's perfectly fine too. And also just listen to your body. If your body has a difficult time digesting meat and all these things, then don't force yourself to eat a certain amount of protein. Listen to the body. Every human being is different. Everybody has different genetic makeup. Everybody has a different history and adaptation to the foods that they grew up with. So, but the key is at least just have an awareness of how much protein you're taking with every meal. Now, habit number 3, make sure that you have veggies at every meal. This one is not so complicated and it's not so difficult. From the beginning of time, people have been saying, eat your veggies, right? Vegetables come from the earth, from the sun, from the sources of nutrients, and it's really not complicated. Try to have 2 servings of vegetables with every meal. A serving is about a half to 1 cup, and that equals to, if you're eating those 4 meals, that's about 5 to 10 cups of vegetables a day. The question is, are you eating 2 servings of veggies with every meal? Now, you can also take in green drinks. You can also take in fresh squeezed juices and grasses that are juice. You can do a lot of different things to get your vegetables in. Salads, whatever it takes. Steamed vegetables, salads, chop it up. And the other idea with vegetables is to try to use vegetables with every color, because every color gives you every different type of mineral and vitamin content in your vegetables. As they say, eat your vegetables before you eat your desserts. Your body needs the vegetables. You want and crave desserts. But if you give your body what it needs first, then it'll be able to function much better and give you much more return on the energy. Now, habit number 4 is all about good carbs. If you have fat to lose but you haven't worked out, then yes, you're going to be very strict on carbs. Not a lot of pasta, bread, rice, and starches. Now, for your carbs, if you haven't been working out, you can still get carbs. That's the thing. A little bit of brown rice, a little bit of fruits and vegetables will give you the carbs. But if you've been working out regularly and you're really burning a lot of calories, then having some carbs after a workout, a little bit of mixed carbs, won't be so bad. So it's really about the other aspect, which you're going to see in the video below, understanding your calorie intake and understanding your calorie burn. And then when you're tracking your food appropriately, you're going to see how much fats, carbs, and proteins you're taking in. So you don't have to worry about it. You could just track it and then look at the chart later. If you see that you're eating so many calories and most of your calories are coming from carbs, then you need to make an adjustment. I remember one time I wanted to gain a lot of weight, so I wanted to, bulk up a lot. And so I made this plan, and I was just trying to get the calories high. And I wasn't paying as much attention to the ratio of proteins, fats, and carbs, and I ended up going way over, like in areas like sodium and carbs. And I was like, whoa, it's not worth it for me to gain mass, but to have so much carbs, because that mass is going to be a lot more fat. And on the same way, if you're going to be reducing a lot of your dietary calorie intake, you don't want to be just eliminating all your protein, or eliminating carbs altogether. You don't even have any energy to work out. It's a fine balance. You have to, as Tom Venuto says, you have to feed the muscle and burn the fat. And that's how balancing your carbs will help out with that. But that's why it's just an important part of your whole process. And then number 5, which is really important, where are your fats coming from? You do need some fat from animal foods, olive oil, mixed nuts, flax seeds, flaxseed oil, fish oil. And you want to spread them throughout the day, but make sure to add them in. Because when you have the right amount of healthy fats, you see I have coconut oil here, avocado, almonds, olive oil, real butter if you're eating that. A lot of these chemicals that are put in foods are put into the grocery store calls fat-free foods, so they may not even be foods, but they say, oh, this item is fat-free, so you think it's actually good for you. But the chemicals that they use to make it taste like fat are more damaging than real whole butter. So that's the complications with the grocery store. So just stick to this principle. Just eat healthy, natural fats, coconut oil. An avocado, they say, is like God's butter. You know, it's a natural green item that has the creamy substance. It's like fat. You have almonds, olive oil, real butter, whole eggs, things like that to make sure that you get the fat. And if you're eating eggs, try not to eat too many egg yolks at one time. You may be able to eat 1 or 2 egg yolks per 4 eggs that you're eating, right? So the rest would be egg whites in that ratio. All right, so these are the 5 habits, and these are the big stones of eating. If you can knock out these big stones, you've pretty much hit like 75 to 80% of what you need in terms of your eating habits. And then if you can track your calorie burn and your calorie intake below, that should have you covered in terms of the science. And if you're doing all of this and you're looking at the paper and you're being honest with yourself, the only thing that's going to happen is you're going to get to an ideal weight. It's just that simple. If you don't do it, the chances are that you're going to trick yourself, you're going to con yourself, you're going to delude yourself, and then it's just not going to happen. So it's just a matter of you being real with yourself and doing these habits and then doing the calories in and calories out, and you'll have outstanding success. You'll be exactly where you want to be physically. I look forward to seeing your results. Take care. Look at the next video. Talk to you soon.